Hello everybody, I'm Ella Gordon from Jamieson Smith, and I'm here today with Gudrun Johnston, and we are going to have a chat about her new book, which is Shetland Trader Book 3 Heritage, which is being released.
The pre-orders are September 23rd, and I think it will ship around the 14th to people.
October, yeah. So this will be going out the end of September, so it'll be quite near to this, so it can nearly be in your hands soon. I've had a sneak peek and it's very good. So yeah, we thought we would just have a chat kind of overall about the different things in the book and how you got there. And yeah, so we start with, so this is your third book.
Yes.
And you've done two before of your kind of, well, I suppose if you tell us, I mean I know, but tell everybody about your kind of story briefly.
Okay, briefly.
I mean, just
we'll just say that yes, I have published two self-published collections before that were both called Shetland Trader Book 1 and Book 2, and both of those were inspired by Shetland, you know, knitting. The first one was sort of more focused on lace patterns, and
yeah, that kind of what you did more of to begin with.
In that first one, that I think everything in that is sort of
there's no colour
lace.
work.
Yeah, there's no colour work in that one. And then Book 2, which you modelled in, that had some colour work in it, and that was, you know, still sort of a continuation of the same theme, just, you know, inspiration from Shetland. And then obviously with this one, I have gone kind of back to my roots, so to speak, and this is all inspired by knitwear that my mum did in the 70s here in Shetland. So some things are complete replicas, some things are sort of inspired by, and then there's a couple of pieces which are just sort of, you know, my...
Like taking the vibe of the whole thing. Yeah. And yeah, we thought we'd start with this jumper because, so when was that, Wool Week?
I think it was 2014.
Oh my god.
I know. Which is why, it's been many years in the making.
But you've always like thought it's always something you wanted to do, wasn't it? To kind of go back because, yeah, so your mum has a mail order company in Shetland in, what, late 70s?
Yeah, kind of it was just before I was born that she kind of started, so that would have been like 73, 74, and initially she was just designing stuff for her own kids. Yeah. So my older siblings sort of, you know, and then that developed into the business basically, and then the adult garments came in. So through probably, 73 to around 77, 78, I think. Yeah. 77, 78 was probably 78 or 79 was when my parents left Shetland, and that's when she sold the business at that point. So a good 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, and they are very, I mean, we'll get more into it as we go, but they are very, it's like they're very Shetland, but not at the same time, because it's a mixture of the well, it's just things that you wouldn't have seen really at that time. It's more 70s design elements, isn't it, combined with Shetland motifs and patterns and
exactly stuff. I mean, her sort of inspiration was seeing an old sweater in the museum that I believe Tom Henderson showed her, and she really liked the natural colours and the motifs and stuff like that. But as you said, the silhouettes are very 70s with the balloon sleeves and things like that.
Yeah, so it's very good. But
yes,
So this is the original. So this was, you saw on Wendy Inkster's Instagram?
Well, it was actually a friend of my brother's saw on Facebook that she had posted pictures of this sweater and another one kind of like it but in a different colourway. And I think the caption was, I never saw this caption, so it's kind of hearsay at this point, but that it said something like "too nice to cut up?" ? And so I had never seen these sweaters in person. I'd only ever seen photos of them, and of course I was like, oh my god, Wendy's gonna cut up these sweaters, and I hadn't met Wendy at that point. So I said to my dad that we had to like go over there right now. And we did, and of course she had no intention of cutting them up. She knew how special they were, and she has a big collection obviously of vintage knitwear, and she gave them to me, which was really nice. So
because I would think as well, like people probably think like, why do you not have more of your mum's stuff, but it was a business. She wasn't doing it like for fun. Like,
no,
she was doing it to sell. So
exactly, and everything was, you know, it was a made to order piece.
Yeah,
you know, like
she didn't have like stock that she was left over with. So yeah, it's like, well, and you know this, like, you don't always take pictures of everything that you make. Sometimes you make things and you give it away and you never see it ever again.
Yeah. We did have quite a number of the kids items.
All the kids stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
how she started off.
Yeah, I mean, and because we wore them and, you know, kept them, and she passed them on to me, and my kids wore them. I still have them. They're in great condition. So good, yeah. But yes, a lot of these more sort of unique pieces, I had only ever seen in this folder that she had kept, which included photographs, you know, and then there were some illustrations and things like that.
Yeah,
some
which even
other pieces.
Yeah, illustrations is harder to know for sure what was. But yeah, there was good, like really good illustrations, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, so this is the original garment, and then you came in. I can't remember if you were like, I'm gonna do. Maybe never thought at the time you were going to do a book, but that you were definitely going to do a pattern. Yeah. And then you just started it off, and then you're like, oh, maybe I could. Yeah, there's enough here.
It definitely started things percolating, and like you said, you know, I'd always known about my mum's business, but we didn't really ever, you know, she did it when I was tiny, and then she wasn't doing it during my whole growing up period, so it wasn't something we ever connected over or talked about. As I said, she just kept this folder of things, and I knew it was there. And then that got passed on to me, and at the point at which, you know, I was really developing a strong interest in knitwear design and stuff like that, she was already diagnosed with Alzheimer's, so it was pretty hard for me to kind of have conversations with her. Dad remembers a lot, and you know, he's certainly filled in some of that time period for me, just in terms of kind of what went on and how she did it and all of that. But yeah, getting those sweaters definitely was sort of like, okay, I have, because these are so unique as well, because of that combination of the Fair Isle and the lace, and like you said, it's Shetland, but it's something really different, and I just was like, you know, I have to do something with this, and patterns obviously weren't ever written for any of these because they were notes given to the knitter, and so yeah, I figured.
And then things would have been made like that's the thing, like a lot of Shetland things are made to fit the person they're being made for.
Yes.
And don't necessarily even lend themselves to patterns being made about them.
Right. Yeah.
So there will be some things that was probably quite hard for you to make.
Well, I had to obviously kind of look at some aspects, you know, I mean, anything that was plain stocking knit, I assume was machine knit too. So, you know, looking at a sleeve like this, I had to decide, okay, well, what kind of construction am I going to do here, you know, and for things like on this piece here, this was actually a stocking knit band on the original, as far as I can tell, you know, from looking at photos. And that would have been machine knit and so on. So again, sort of going, okay, well, how will I approach this? And like you said, you know, people also, they specified things, you know, they tweaked things too.
Yeah,
so
maybe not one off,
Yeah, exactly. But can I have some blue in this? Or you know, so there's lots of things out there, and I have seen a few pop up in exhibitions here in Shetland too. There's a variation of this pinafore that was at the Walser exhibition,
which is
it's grey, yes, and it had like a centre pocket with like a seam down the front or something like that. So it was just like ever so slightly different, and so the customers could make it completely uniquely theirs, you know, in that way.
But so you came in to the shop with this, and we matched up the colours for jumper weight, and then this is the resulting.
I mean, so pretty much exactly.
I mean, things, colours change over time, but then you don't know how things, like how they've been stored or
I mean, this is obviously a little bit faded. But
and it's been worn, which is good. I like that. I think with vintage stuff that it's had a life, and but I love it. So this having a combination of lace and Fair Isle is so unusual. Because I have seen like once a Fair Isle yoke with like lace body and sleeves, but I've seen that once, and that was in an exhibition that they had in Albury Hall, and I've never seen that. Like, you just don't see it really, you don't see them combining, but I think it's so successful, and I think it probably is because of the colours,
the shading,
and then you have this version, so and all the patterns in the book have, well, all the sweaters, so they have like a balloon sleeve version, a straight sleeve version, and do they all have turtleneck or no turtleneck?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the all over razor shell one doesn't like that,
yeah,
balloon sleeves or anything, but all the other ones that are sort of regular set in sleeve construction,
yeah.
Yes, it's kind of like you can switch out sleeves and things like that of different sweaters.
Well, that's quite good as well, because you're kind of doing what your mum did, like
exactly.
The person can like mix and match it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people could choose to have a turtleneck or you know, things like that. They would like check their whatever, the little box on the brochure.
Because so this version has like straight sleeves and
a plain lace as well. Plain lace, just to sort of show that you could just do the body in a plain lace if you don't want it striped.
Yeah, you don't have to go full 70s.
Exactly, you don't have to go full 70s.
I mean, I always would, but I get it. But there's some people might not. But I think, so effective. It's just lovely. And then, so you have like that kind of style. And then, so this is a similar idea, but this one has Farrell. And then there's one with lace.
Yeah, it has a dress with the same razor shell lace on the balloon sleeve kind of cuff area, and then also like as a band on the bottom. So there's a sort of, I mean, the only lace used in the book is the razor shell, so it's kind of become a theme. And then the sort of balloon sleeve thing is a theme. I mean, obviously with this sweater there wouldn't really be much point in making it straight sleeve, because then you wouldn't do the pattern on it.
So that's like a different thing.
But there's a couple of different motifs you can use on that area, so you could switch out for a different motif if you wanted.
And you can just see, so this is a dress kind of version too.
So because Mum did have like floor length dresses as part of her thing, but I figured that a lot of knitters are not going to want to do the entire body length down to the floor.
I have one like floor length dress that I got, I can't remember if I bought it. It was Wendy X, her sister, was selling it on Facebook, and I bought it. And I can't even remember the label. It's like the Knitting Something Factory or something. And that is just, it's stripes of natural colours. But to the floor. But I just can't imagine when.
Well, there's knitting it and then there's also wearing it, isn't there? Like, you know, that is a lot of wool to have on. So with this one, it's sort of like I combined some things of Mum's, because with her floor length dresses and skirts, they would have a band of ferrule at the bottom. So you know, put that on, but just kind of made it shorter so that it's a little less knitting. And you could make it even shorter if you wanted to just be more tunic length. You know, too.
That's true.
But again, you know, there is, you know, a crew neck option for these as well.
Yeah, it's all just very, I love that. It's just all very mix and match and take bits. So this one, and I think so. My auntie definitely had one. I've seen a photo of her in one of these.
I mean, I feel like a lot of Shetland designers have done a version of, you know, the all over razor shell. I feel like it's a fairly classic. It's a piece that my mum, I mean, talking about like things she did wear,
because there's that photo.
Exactly. A lot of the photos of her during that time.
I'll put it up as well.
She is wearing that, so I also was like, okay, well that has to be in the book.
So you wanted to keep it, you want to make it.
Yeah, it felt like, you know, I mean, there were a lot of different things she designed, and so I also had to decide, okay, what am I going to include in this book as well. So at a certain point I had to be like, okay, these are the things I really want to be in it and focus on them. And yes, because that was a piece that I remember, you know, photos of her wearing and things like that, it was important, to have it in the book.
And then you've got kind of associated accessory patterns.
Because she did have like traditional hats made that she would sell, but because I already have a hat pattern and stuff like that, I didn't need to put that in the book.
That you're very well, like is it your most,
it's definitely, I mean, I don't know, possibly, I'd have to look, but certainly very popular. And so, you know, instead of doing like a hat shape,
but it's quite a similar vibe.
Exactly, which is what I wanted. You know, this one you start at the outside and cast on all the stitches so that the points are just a bit more emphasized,
And it works.
and then it just decreases all the way up to
That's
here.
good.
Yeah, I like that. I
I
have
like
to say,
that too.
rows getting shorter. And then there's a version which is sort of more
Like
of a
shallow?
shallow scarf. Yeah, but the same idea. Yeah.
That might be the thing I start with before I dive in. But yeah, no. It's
Yeah, so
really
it, it was sort of a nod towards hats, but it's not a traditional hat or anything.
yeah, because that also, a hat it's a big knit, like a big square one.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, sometimes it's like, yeah, it's just a big thing to wear and make. So
yes.
this is like you just like throw on.
Yeah.
And then you've got a couple of like hats.
Yes.
You've got this and like a beanie that's kind of, what do you say, more like just generally inspired.
Exactly, because she had like tons of hats, a lot of stripy things, a lot of stripy hats, but she did have berets and things like that. But yes, I didn't sort of like completely replicate any one of those things. I just kind of took inspiration, and so the motifs on this are the same motifs that are on the beanie.
Yeah.
But yes, just sort of to have a couple of accessories, and then this this
so
is the only thing that's in the lace weight yarn. Everything else is jumper weight.
Yeah.
And this again was inspired by the photo of my mum, because she also wore a headscarf a lot.
And was that something, was it like that's what it was made as?
Yeah, I did intend it as a headscarf, and you could obviously wear it as a neckerchief as well. And because this is like the modern hat construction, you also could just make it bigger. You could make it a shawl, or you could just make it a bigger headscarf by doing more repeats, if you wanted to. So yeah, this is a pretty, and again, it's just a simple lace, so it's pretty accessible, really, for beginners. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Oh yeah, and then you've got, so is this this design was another thing that was kind of
inspired by, sort of a photo where the model is wearing a jumper with balloon sleeves, a skirt, and then a tank top over the top of that, and it's a scoop necked tank top, and it has different motifs, so I didn't use the motifs that were on that. It was quite hard for me to see up close anyway on that picture to really like totally replicate, so this was just sort of, there were some zigzags on that tank top, so I just kind of took those, and then this is just kind of my own made up thing, which I've used in other designs of mine now at this point.
I think and then do you think once you've like this is out, do you think you'll keep going, like do you think you'll go back and use like motifs, just carry it through your...
I'm sure I will. I'm sure there will be things, and I like doing that. I find myself doing that a lot anyway with other things that I design. You sort of, you either put it on a hat or a sweater first, and then you're like, oh, it would look good on, in this format or whatever. And then you do it with different colors, and it's it feels like a whole different garment. So,
but this one I like, because it's got this I-cord edging, which I just think is quite modern.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know, because I didn't have this in person, so I don't really know what the edging was like on the original. But yes, I didn't want ribbing. No. And it didn't look like it had ribbing from the photo there, so... Yeah.
No, I think it's such a good way to finish it off. So the book comes out, and you'll be happy to have it out and get to the end of so it's been a long...
I mean 2014 really, like I said, was sort of the instigation for it, so it's been a long time in the making. And in the book itself there's also a lot of backstory at the beginning of my mum's time running the business, and then my approach.
A lot of good photos as well, that kind of...
some good photos of the brochures and like other pieces. So when my mother ran it, my grandmother did the illustrations for it, and in this version my daughter Maya has done the schematic drawings that are for all the patterns, things like that. And then my sister did all the botanical stuff inside. So it's nice. It's kind of a family collaboration again, which is really nice.
Yeah, and then your dad did a foreword.
Yes, my dad wrote a foreword as well, which is lovely. Yeah, I mean, it's a special project obviously for me, but it's also been a special project for the whole family to see, you know, come to fruition. And they've all been cheering me on, which is great.
Yeah, so it's a shame we can't have the big launch in Shetland as you wanted to have, but at least you're here in Shetland.
I know.
A few weeks before it comes out, kind of bringing the stuff home.
And I hopefully in the future, you know, when there is in person, what I would love to do is an exhibition, which is kind of what I had wanted to do originally. So
that
I can have, you know, gather up old pieces that friends have and things like that, and have an exhibition like that.
That's a good idea. Nice. That's a really good idea. Yeah. And and did you say, so you're going to Rhinebeck?
Yes, so I will be doing like an in-person signing at Rhinebeck, which is like the 15th of October, I think, that weekend.
It's always like a few weeks after Wool Week, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always kind of like right in the middle of October. So yes, I will be there for that weekend, signing books in person, which will be nice, you know, and that'll probably be really my first kind of event, in-person event. Since
for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I know, and so you were, like, for the photos and the models and everything in the book is really nice, and that was taken
in Reno, Nevada,
because I can't imagine.
I was supposed to be, it was supposed to happen in London.
You're not coming?
Yes, I was about to get on a plane in March 2020. Friday the 13th it was as well, and I had packed, I'd literally packed all of these samples ready to go to London for the photo shoot with Pom Pom, I decided things don't look good. London had not shut down at that point, but I made the decision not to go, and turns out it was a good one. So then everything just got stalled after that.
You could have been in London and for
I mean, at least, you know, I'm from the UK, so I would have been okay, but my daughter was supposed to be coming, and like friends of hers were also coming. Just, I don't know, it didn't feel right, and so I was just like, no, I shouldn't go. But yes, that did mean that everything got delayed by a year, and so what we ended up doing is I just said, well, look, we can't plan anything in terms of when to have the photo shoot, so I should just do it in Reno. And that was really nice, actually, too.
And it was totally works.
Yeah, well, it was this used to be a garden centre, now it's a venue.
Oh, okay.
So it was a good spot for doing it, except that it was like, I don't know, 98 degrees or something like that. It was in the summertime in Reno, which is hot.
What's that in normal temperature?
That's probably like 36 or something. I don't know. But the models were great. They were very gung-ho, and and it was a friend who runs a vintage clothing and furniture store that basically kind of helped me pull the whole thing together. She knew a photographer, she knew the models, and she helped with the styling and stuff like that. So, so I'm really grateful to her.
Because it's very, I mean, I love 70s and vintage knitwear and stuff, but it's not like, you know, it doesn't feel like, it's not like costumey.
No,
you know, sometimes like it can be too too much, but it's not at all, and it's still like everything's so. I just think it's so wearable, and that people will love it. I know they will for sure. I hope so. But so we will, when it comes out, we will have the book for sure here at JNS, and you'll be able to get it, I would imagine, lots and lots of places, because it's Pom Pom Press that's publishing it, and they have lots of stockists all over the world.
Yeah, they do have a lot of stockists, and you can order it from them directly as well. But yes, they have a lot of stockists they work with.
And so congratulations.
Thank you.
And we hope you've enjoyed, and if you want to know anything more about any of the individual patterns, they'll be different. You'll be posting different things over the time once the book is out and officially out there. So
exactly.
Thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Thank you.